break. Guys, it's now time for the conversation segment, and today I'm going to be talking to a transformative coach. Very exciting. Her name is Christine Asiko. Let's go and say hello and hear more about her. Now, today I'm very excited because I'm talking to somebody that I've spoken to before, but on their platform. Now they have come to mine. I'm talking about Christine Asiko. She is a transformative coach, and she recently founded something called the Core Lab, and I'm very excited for her to tell all of you what that is. Hi, Christine.
Hi, isn't it interesting how tables turn? They always say treat people with respect.
Oh, yeah.
Because one day you're on the other side, so you're in total control, and I surrender.
This is awesome. Yes, I remember when you were interviewing me, and I was just like, I don't know how to be on this other side. But this is great. I'm very excited.
And so am I, and I'm really grateful.
How have you been, even from when we last talked? How have you been keeping?
I have been well. My boundaries keep being pushed. I spoke to you when we spoke that time. I said, working with you young, people, you're under a millennial, but working with millennials and below, I keep running. I'm chasing, which is actually what really reminds me how dynamic you guys are, millennials and below, and how my generation truly have to commit to connecting, to connecting to you and to speaking, which is what Core Lab is about. So I'm not just talking, I'm walking the walk, but really fast. I'm
very, very fast. These young people,
sometimes they suggest something to me, my collaborators, and I'm thinking, is there time for me? You better jump into this space. Then I'm thinking, okay. So
you're like, guys, I need first to be able to absorb the information you have just given me, and then sit on it, and then I'll decide. You're just asking now, quick.
Yeah. And for showing up for anything, for anytime we want to show up to anything, whether it's a job, it's a relationship, it's a campaign, whatever it is, you have to be a certain person. So when they ask me to jump into, say, the IG space, I'm thinking, give me space to just catch up. Let me get to that person first. But anyway, this is your interview, so let me shut up.
Well, I'm very, very excited to have you here. You have been a transformative coach for much longer than you founded Core Lab. So I just want you to tell people, what is the Core Lab? What does it mean, your Core Lab? And why did you start it?
Oh, thank you very much. Those are beautiful questions. So your core, C-O-R-E, lab. So your core is who you are, the center of who you are, the core of anything, the core of a discussion, the core of a tree, the core is what truly is within, right?
Yeah.
And because life is so tricky, there is no formula to life. There are structures, and even now, we're realizing these structures no longer work because of that. Sorry? Because of that situation, we need to go into a lab, like a science lab. So you try this, does it work? Does it not work? So it is your core, what's within you, and what do you need to try in order for that which is within you to come out, to show up, to represent you in your wholeness and magnificence. And because life really throws curveballs and gets us fearful all the time and scared, what will people say? How will it look? Because of that, we hold back, right? So Core Lab is a platform to really get people to emerge, to see themselves, meet themselves, and show up as themselves. And we use coaching, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, to help one just break their barriers. What are the barriers? What makes them feel not good enough, and not loved enough, and not having enough? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it has. So from transformative coaching with your Core Lab, one of the first things that you decided to do with Core Lab was to talk to young people. So what I want to know is what were you experiencing as a transformative coach that you weren't quite getting, or you realized, oh, there's a gap here, and then you decided the first thing you're going to do with Core Lab is actually talk to young people?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. So and it's true. When I first began, and I began Core Lab in England, because I lived in England for a long time, and then I was working with executives. So in fact, I'm an executive coach,
Right.
but I soon moved to being more of a life coach for two reasons. One, the older, my generation and above, are set in their ways.
Mm-hmm.
So you have several conversations, and yes, you may have some breakthroughs,
Right.
but it's a little harder to actually create transformation. Now, the difference between change and transformation is change would be an example of, okay, I want to get onto a diet. I need to lose 10 kgs. I get onto that diet. I lose the 10 kgs, but it's not necessarily permanent.
Right.
Whereas transformation is the caterpillar that then transforms into a butterfly. At the end of any process, you look at yourself differently, therefore you show differently, you show up differently, and you just impact the world differently. But that's the butterfly.
Yeah.
So with the older, my peers, I didn't find that as impactful. And then I began to think two things. One, there's a generation coming up, that are asking questions, but are not meeting the sounding board in their parents, in their employers, in their CEOs that they require. Questions around this KPI or this objective that you want me to meet. Why should we meet it?
Right.
Tell me, help me understand, how is it meaningful? What is the purpose? So those kind of conversations were not being met. And I thought, right, this is the gap. Let me be the bridge between the older generation and the millennials and below.
I love that. And I'm just glad that you said it and I didn't. Yes, the older generation can be really stuck in their ways.
Exactly.
But, we love you guys regardless.
Oh, absolutely. And we have done a lot of things right. But I think the core, the fundamental bits are now just not merging. We're wondering, why is it that you cannot see that you need to be able to have been married at this time, baby at this time, da 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 da? We're wondering, because that was the only model we knew. Right. And you guys are saying, is that, if it's a female, is that what makes me woman? Just a woman just because I've had children or no children, or married or not, that, or should I not be the one who earns the money? Right. So our structures, which worked for us beautifully and to an extent helped us bring you up, are no longer, they're redundant.
Right. Yeah, I think for younger people, it's just the world has developed, and so we just have more options. And there's nothing wrong with following that traditional route. It's just that if somebody doesn't want to follow it, there's also no problem.
Exactly. Different is fine.
Yeah.
Different is fine. Different is fine. Yeah.
So you have now started these conversations with millennials, and it's on your Core Lab social media pages, and anyone watching, you can go check out some of the videos and the conversations there. So far with the conversations that you've had, has there been anything that has come up that has been the most surprising to you? Like probably the least thing that you expected since you started your Core Lab?
Mm-hmm. So I'll say that for the interviews that I've had, one thing that has really blown my mind away is how the misconception we have held about millennials. Yeah. Oh, they're lazy, oh, they're entitled, oh, they're, all these derogative terms that are used. And every person, starting with you, have been amazing. And the nuggets of wisdom, because we kind of thought wisdom comes when you're older, 50 plus. The nuggets of wisdom are amazing. For example, you saying to us that, it's important to have at least one meal together to talk.
Yeah,
now, communication,
I actually learned that on the show, but it helped. Yeah, you started practicing it, and I was like, wow,
amazing. And that talking is the foundation of a relationship. Now, it's the depth and the quality of talk that we want to improve on, but just even setting up to talk. So your wisdom that you shared with us was that, and I've just had subsequent, these conversations that keep telling me, my goodness, the future is here. You know, we keep saying, they're the future, they're the future. No, it's here.
It has arrived, guys.
It's now, yeah.
It's actually happening. I think that's something really important, actually, is that thinking of future. Even for young people, we have it. Like, I'm always like, oh, I'm planning for, I'm thinking of, I will, one day I'll be so organized, I'll do that. And it's like, no, the life is happening to you now. So
now.
This is the future.
Now.
So if you don't do it today, it's still not going to be the future, sis.
Yeah. And I'd like to add, and that you're doing it successfully. So it's not just that you guys are living and yes, you're doing it successfully. You are as perfect as you are imperfect. And that's all we need in life, to acknowledge we are imperfect and do that perfectly, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I that has surprised me, the depth that is coming from the millennials and, yeah.
I like it. Shout out. Hey, I'm happy for all the millennials who've come to your collab and have represented very well. Yes. So my producer, Charity, shout out to my producer, Charity, when she reached out to you for this interview and you said yes, you said that you're very happy to be talking about a healthy relationship with self, because it's something that you're very passionate about and you've been passionate about for a very long time. And I actually want to quote you because you said a healthy relationship with self is the key to all relationships, both personal and official. And it's actually the relationship that determines how we represent ourselves through money, success, power, and fear. What I ask is, for you, with your journey in life, you're a mother, you're a coach, you're starting your collab. When did you feel like, oh, I've cultivated, a healthy relationship with myself?
No. I haven't felt. It's not when did you feel. I haven't felt that I have arrived. I can only say that I'm 10 steps ahead of many, but the work continues. Even a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I was in a 3-day course. And ultimately, it was all about, how do you feel good enough? How do you feel loved enough? How do you know that you have enough, so that you're not, someone invites you to an interview like this and you think, oh, I'm not enough. Will I say the right things? And then, okay, Susan, no, I'm not going to join you because of things like that. And that's what I mean by a healthy relationship with self.
Yeah.
Because if you're okay with your imperfections, but also understand that, and those imperfections actually, because we all have it, means I am enough, I have enough, then you show up. So no, I cannot tell you, I would be lying if I said that I have arrived. I'm just 10 steps ahead.
I like that. It's honest also.
But and that's what collab is about. We have to be honest. Because if we're still bearing some of these things, if I wanted to look perfect and then say to you, actually, I got my act together, I would get off this interview and go and have a real good cry, because that wouldn't be true, which is what social media is allowing us to do, to act like it's all okay when it's not. I am work in progress.
I like that. And I think the most important thing is, with you being a work in progress, is everyone who's watching us will understand it's a journey. My friend was posting the other day about keeping up with your mental health and your mental health journey. And she specifically was saying, if you have a bad mental health day, or you just feel like you have recently degraded, like you had done some progress and now you feel like you haven't progressed the last couple of days or weeks, it's a journey. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to look back at your progress and congratulate yourself. That's also fine.
Absolutely.
It's all about it just being a process, and I really like that. And you guys really emphasize that at Core Lab, which is great.
And I'd like to just say very quickly, because it's a journey, because remember, our biological system, our brain, also creates neural pathways that make us default. So if on a bad day, if I'm trying, again, back to being on a diet, if I'm trying to get on a diet and then someone calls me a name and I'm triggered and I go back to my default setting, which is chocolate, very quickly do I find myself in a situation where I'm back and I'm thinking, oh, shucks, I've been on diet for 4 days. I got off wheat for 4 days, and day 5, here I am. That's okay, because your neural pathway is also having to fade out biologically whilst you create a new one. So we need to be compassionate with ourselves because it's a whole process. It's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual and all.
Yeah, I like that. You have so far in your conversations with millennials spoken to both women and men. And I'm very curious to know if you've seen any difference between the two genders during the conversations, because what's happening is millennials now, I feel like, we're so diverse. And sometimes you don't necessarily see differences that are the traditional way of classifying things. Have you experienced any differences when you were talking to ladies and when you were talking to men?
Yeah, yes, I have. Um, so with the guys, even on when my personal coaching and group coaching sessions with the
Right.
guys,
Mm-hmm.
I go in via the left brain. So I go in via very logical uh, conversations, but knowing very well that what I'm trying to do is get to your heart and your spirit and get to the. So
Yeah.
for example, even if anyone went to look at any of our shows, I remember, sometimes I start with a little icebreaker. In your case, for example, I asked you what we went into a creative poem,
Yeah.
yes, and asked about color, because for you, I knew I could get very quickly to your right brain, which is your inspirational, your creative, everything that sits on that side.
Mm-hmm.
And then the with the left, with one of the guys, it was about what wouldn't I find on Google about you, so that's the left brain, and
Okay.
it's very logical and it's safe for them, and then you dip. Yeah, so yes, the strategy differs, but ultimately we do get to the core of who we are.
Okay. And you figured out the strategy because before, did you ever try the emotional thing with guys at the beginning and they're just like, I don't know.
Uh, um, so I have the benefit of also being a specialist in dyslexia.
Okay.
Neuroscience and stuff like that, and I know that the brain is neuroplastic. So every strategy that I use in every conversation, all those are leading to where I want to go. And I just quickly need to pick up, okay, do we do a mental one very quickly? Do we get
Right.
straight into the heart? Do we get spiritual? What do we do with this person? And so, yeah, it's all merged, all my past training and then of course my coaching
And your
training.
current training. Okay. So for
Yeah,
everyone watching, Christine is saying she's not a quack. Okay. There are some quacks out here. She actually knows her stuff. She is educated and trained for it. So you know that you're in trustworthy hands. So you at the core lab, of course, you're in the baby boomer generation and you're now having all of these conversations with millennials. So it's a collaboration that's happening. And I know you're
yes,
very passionate about baby boomers having these conversations with the younger generations.
yes.
Um, why do you think they should do that? For anybody that's watching and is just like, these young people, they don't understand, they don't listen, they want everything so quickly, they lack patience. And like you said, there was the other side where you say they are lazy, we're seen to not want to put in long-term hard work to get to our goals. So what would you say to the baby boomers? What is the point? Why bother collaborating with younger people?
Well, first of all, we're frustrated. I mean, so if nothing else, do it just so that you ease your frustration and you move into a space that is happier
Right.
and special. So I would say to them, it's in their benefit. Now, it is very scary for boomers to come, in this direction for two very good reasons. One is I am then, or you, when you speak to your parents and anybody else, your aunties, basically you're saying you didn't do it right. Okay, so there's the fear of, okay, so if I didn't do this right, what do I do and how do I do it? Because guess what? I don't know. So acknowledging as the older person that you don't know, and you need guidance is one of the reasons why we resist. But actually, we'll all be happier if we get there. And then the second reason is, I have to look at myself. I have to show up differently. I have to do my inner work to come and actually have a healthy conversation with you.
Right.
So I am saying, yes, that journey is not fun. but the results, being able to just sit in one room with your daughter, son, your employee, and be on the same page, be in harmony.
Yeah.
It's ideal. That's what we're looking for. So I would say, hey, boomers, let's get into this movement. Let's be part of the lab.
I really love that for you boomers. And also, if you're beyond boomers, you're still here on this earth. I think also
Exactly.
statistically, like if we're just use Kenya as an example, we're just more than you guys. The young people were just more. You guys got a lot of children. So you have to deal. We're here now. We'll have to build this country together. We do not have a choice.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And actually, let me tell you what's more scary is that I'm actually not a boomer. I'm a Gen X. So can you imagine there's a generation, then there's me, and we're still very behind, and then there's the millennials, and then there's Gen Z, which
now
is
my
you.
siblings, yeah. And
then we have Gen Y, so X or whatever. But the point is, can you imagine how many of us, if Gen X and boomers are out there very frustrated and just wondering, what hit us? We didn't, we were not in my day.
It's
in the true. Day, in your day is in your day. It's the past.
Yeah, I think also young people, you go through, the education system, and if you're lucky and you have a smooth education, you get out on the other end, and you're also just like, you feel like the boomers, like that education was not a good enough prep. You're literally like, you come out into the world and you're like, Mom, I am not prepared for this. I don't know what you are teaching me. What are we doing?
Absolutely. I hear you. And then, of course, because we've never wanted you guys to fail, and the reason why we didn't want you to fail is a little more selfish than we'd like to believe. It's because if you fail, I look bad. Do you see what I mean? It's back to that concept of, we used to be told your child, when you're going to a birthday party, your child must be very well dressed. So you work really hard to make this child pretty, ribbons, pink, and then you forget yourself and you show up looking so tired in stretch pants, so that's our mentality. Our child is supposed to look good and not fail because we're a bad parent, consequently, which is not true.
That's not true at all. And I'm so glad that you said that. It's so important for people to hear. Don't take on too much pressure. There's unnecessary pressure in the world that's not due to take on as a burden, and you just need to be like, excuse me, no. Now I'm seeing that we're almost running out of time, but before we go, of course, I have to ask you, with all these conversations, what do you think is turning out to be a key thing, like a very, very, very important thing for young people? Is there something that has stood out to you through all your conversations that you're like, no, this is what young people care about today, not all this other fluff?
Yeah. So a big one is relationships. Relationships come up in all sorts of forms. Not only do we have the traditional relationships of a male and female, heterosexual, we have all the LGBTQ, but also we have blended situations. So you've fallen in love, but you have a baby, and he has an extra. How does that work? Relationships are big. What I find there's room to build on is connection. So we're all talking about relationship, but we're not necessarily connecting intimately. And that's not sex. That's just meaningful conversations. When your friend, whatever it is, whatever the label of the relationship is, knows you from your core, then there's a lot more peace, harmony, joy, love, as opposed to, yes, I want the relationship, but I want to protect myself and not connect with them, maybe because I don't know who I am, I'm not sure, but the relationship is big, but it's the connection that I find we still need to work on deeply.
Interesting. I think that's also something that COVID highlighted for us, going across many age groups actually, is you are really seeking connection as a human. And then I think we got a shock because the way we were seeking connection, a lot of those lines were cut off. So maybe I see connection, with work, with my colleagues in the office space, being out and about, being in traffic. I feel like I'm a human because I'm doing these things. I feel alert, I feel awake, and I feel alive. but then I'm stuck in the house and I'm just with my family members and I'm just with my colleagues on that Zoom. And it doesn't feel the same. I feel really detached from everyone. And it's like, well, did you have a real connection with them in the first place?
Well done.
Yeah.
And see, that's the wisdom you millennials and in your case, Gen Z are throwing at us. Did those kind of deep questions? Yes. And my guest last week did say, she said, I stopped having everything else. So I went inward. And that's been her journey, connecting inward. Because like you say, all the external connections dropped by the wayside.
Yeah.
You know.
And it was just like a cut off. And like, you were like, oh, okay. We all had to kind of deal with ourselves, which is
Absolutely.
why you guys should go check out your core lab because Christine can guide you through that journey. Christine, thank you so much. I've had an amazing time chatting with you. I'd like you to give one final word before you share all your core lab social medias. For Christine Asiko as a transformative coach and through your core lab, do you have a message that you would like to give our viewers?
I would love people, particularly the young people, to understand that they are so significant, they are so deliberately made and put in the world in this time, in this lifetime. I always say if there's a circle and people are sitting, round that circle on the floor, cross-legged, if any one of you checks out from that circle, yes, the others may come and sit for, but there is no other you. Do you know what I mean? So whatever energy you are bringing to that circle, whatever role you are playing in that circle is lost. So it is significant, it is important that everybody shows up, not just for themselves, but for all of us, because we cannot do without you.
Oh, Steve, that is amazing. I don't even know. I have nothing to say after that. Could you kindly share your social media handles and where people can get your services for coaching and guidance, and also your core lab, where they can find all those content that you guys are creating?
Thank you. So our website is spelled Y-O-U-R, core, spelled C-O-R-E, lab, L-A-B, as one word.com. That's our website. On Instagram, now I'm familiar and I can say IG, coming from someone who didn't know to use Instagram to IG. It is
IG?
Yes. So it's your_core_lab. And if you get onto our website, actually, we have details about our services, what they cost. I will say we are I actually charge under the market rates because I want young people, to be able to afford the conversations, even if they don't want help, if they don't want their parents to know, or their employees, because companies do set out for coaching, but sometimes everything is, will they think I'm less than? So my prices are deliberately low so that we can have the conversations. What I urge is that people take a number of conversations. You can't have one or two and expect transformation.
Yeah.
It's got to be a circle. But if you go to our website, you'll find all our details. You'll find all our social media handles. And I do hope you come forth. I do hope you represent yourself and invest in yourself. That would be my call.
That. Yeah. Yeah. If you're gonna go on the website and sign up and inquire, also be ready to do the work. Some people want coaching, and then they actually have to start doing the work, and they're like, no, this is not. Be ready. It's not. Being a better you is not easy.
It is not. Well done, Susan. It is not. It is a fact. And that's why for me to genuinely help facilitate that better you, I continue to do my own work. Because then, it's just got to be like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Christine. I've had an amazing conversation with you. This has been awesome. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Susan. I really, really am grateful to you and to Charity and to KTN. And I hope this is the beginning of many more.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. All right. Then have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
That was Christine Asiko. Like she said, she is a transformative coach, also an executive coach, but she's now the founder of Your Core Lab, which is focused on building your inner core in the lab, testing out all the things that you can do to make yourself a better person. Now, as usual, towards the end, I always reiterate something that my guest said that really hit home with me. And of course, Christine said so many amazing things, but she said, you are deliberately made and put on this earth. There is no other you, okay? So show up for yourself and show up for others. All right, that is Sura's Cut. I'm Susan Joroge. You can find me on social media on Instagram at Sura_Common, on Twitter, Sjoroge_, and on Facebook on my page, Sura Common. That is it for conversations. Now we're on to the artist segment and fun TikTok videos. Ciao.